Throughout human history, there have been countless migrations. Usually they follow the seasons or a source of food. But when does a migration become a pilgrimage? Or a problem?
I really need to be fully present and fully alive and fully self-accepting to really explore what's meaningful.
This is something I've been wanting to do for years and years, ever since learning about them.
And these adventures helps me get into that state.
On the Pacific coast of the Northwest United States, there is a secret annual event. And for some, it isn't secret enough.
Since the discovery, like I said, everyone's been going to that small area. It's kind of been getting trampled and it's been hit pretty hard, especially with the internet kind of leaking all the information about it.
I think the main thing is to develop your own relationship with the fungi.
Inside the mycology community, the search for Psilocybe azurescens could be described as a rite of passage.
So this is almost a quest that people do, and just kind of congregating at this spot, this one specific spot at this one specific time of year to look for this one specific mushroom, Psilocybe azurescens. It grows one and only one place in the world, and that is.
And it's become quite a mecca for people searching for those type of mushrooms.
To chase this story that you hear from all of your mushroom hunting friends and see it for ourselves.
We are going to explore the dynamic relationships that surround this highly coveted little brown mushroom. The context.
The sand supply is in dynamic balance with the vegetation.
The ecology.
I would presume it's a primary decomposer.
And the fungi's role in society.
And you have to be willing and able to step into the unknown.
It completely changed my life.
I know it might sound corny, but it's magical. It's like finding treasure, you know? You don't see them very often.
Fred and Lucien are embarking on what has become a modern-day quest for fire. And by doing so, they are now part of the problem, and possibly the solution.
Yeah, they sing songs about Johnny Appleseed. They don't sing songs about Johnny Sand Dune Grass Guy.
It's because the legend hasn't been born yet.
They were first described growing from rotting wood on the banks of the river, and now they've found to be growing really from rotting straw, if you will, at the base of tufts of beach grass. And the beach grasses are abundant. I mean, they're the primary vegetation in this area, which, by the way, is introduced. It's not a native species. It was introduced from Europe by the settlers to stabilize the dunes.
All mammals have an impact on their environment, but none are more disruptive than European colonists.
They first started building out into the ocean, an early phase of jetty construction, followed by later phases that culminated in about 1920. As a result, extra sand showed up on the beaches all the way down to the south of the littoral belt to the city of Seaside. More sand started blowing into the dunes, and in fact, it blew in faster than the vegetation could handle it. It advanced rampaging dune fields as much as a half a mile inland. It buried some farms. It destroyed grazing land. And that became the problem, and they were proposing, after trying several species, they pretty much settled with European beach grass. They also added Scotch broom, and those are two of the most invasive plants in the county.
The humans built the jetty, which then caused a sand problem so big they called it rampaging dunes. In classic human fashion, those colonists thought it would be a good idea to bring in two species of plant to help manage the sand. Two new colonists were introduced, Cytisus scoparius and Ammophila arenea, also known as Scotch broom and European beach grass. This grass did the job it was intended to do, but maybe too well.
It can cause a dune to grow vertically as much as 2 to 3 feet per winter, and maybe as much as 50 to 100 feet horizontally. The negative impacts of the European beach grass are the loss of nesting habitat for a snowy plover. It's a bird that lays its eggs on bare, naked sand. there's so little wide open space now because the beach grass occupies everything above high tide line, that's changed the area of nesting habitat from an area a mile wide to an area 200 feet wide. And so there's fewer snowy plovers as a result.
As far south as Arcata, California, the European beach grass is causing problems for the ecosystems. In Arcata, they are already campaigning to remove it. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, removing the grass will help to save some ecosystems. Perhaps the most significant impact of the grass is its ability to displace entire native plant communities. The grass currently impacts 6 different federally listed endangered plants that occur on the coastal dunes of California. The jetty caused the sand caused the grass, and now the grass is problematic to the birds and local ecosystems. So what is to be done? It appears a solution is already in effect, and maybe it's too late to reconsider.
If you're on a mushroom trip, you can't not stop for mushrooms when it looks good, but you have to be judicious.
Maximize your mushroom minutes.
Yes, maximize your mushroom minutes. This kind of chanterelle, Cantharellus formosus, this is the habitat that it likes. The coastal young spruce forests, like plantation spruce, and it's also easy hunting because you can see everywhere.
I mean a bright orange mushroom in the dark? A
beacon
of eat me?
Since their discovery back in, I think it was the 70s, they've been hunted pretty relentlessly because they survive in a very small habitat. It's when you get a lot of people that aren't really in the mycology world. It's like, I encourage you to go out there, but know what you're doing first so you don't trample the whole area and destroy and litter, and you'd be surprised how much garbage is out there now. Like, it's pretty crazy.
You know, there were maybe 15 or 20 other folks out looking in the similar area. They were all after the Azzies.
There's definitely an exponentially increasing interest in psilocybin-containing mushrooms, largely spawned by what some people refer to as the pollen effect, in reference to Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind.
I think it's kind of more of a well-known thing now, especially in that area.
The spot has been blown up, and there is another group of humans trying to save the fungi from over-harvesting. This group started on Facebook and calls itself Wood Lovers United.
We're trying to find other places to inoculate and hopefully grow this in new places where people don't really know about it. That way we can kind of protect the species in a sense.
A couple of times a year, this clandestine crew converges and conspires to propagate the species in the name of conservation.
I mean, I do think over-foraging can be a problem. I definitely, if you're a mycologist and you're out there foraging, you should know not to take them all and to, put a little back somehow.
It has been well documented that fungi reproduce more from mycelium and animal assistance than from spore dispersal in the wind.
Oh, it's a little mushroom.
What is it about this mushroom that compels people to this area, to cause damage to the land and to risk overharvesting? What makes this species so special to humans?
And it's the psilocybe species with the highest concentration of hallucinogens known in terms of weight, amount of hallucinogen per weight, even though these mushrooms are relatively small. When I first started in mycology about 45 years ago, we knew of 3 or 4 species on the West Coast, and now there's probably 25 or 30 that have been described.
Well, here's where Azurescens stands out. It's in other alkaloids, not psilocybin, not psilocin. It's in baeocystin. And this is Azurescens way over here, and cubensis is here. Now the blue is the psilocybin, and the red is the psilocin, and the little green one there is the baeocystin. And you see, and this down here is the total of all of those. So Azurescens, as believed in past research, is way stronger than all the others. And it's up here at 2.5% total. We need to do a lot more research with the baeocystin and aeruginacin as well.
So my wife and I basically realized that she was ready to move on. So she was ready to separate. Both my wife and I were, miserable at some level or another over all these years at, different times. I thought I was doing all the right things, leading me in the right direction, but they weren't leading me to be more content or happy. Everything I thought I was working towards really lost its meaning. And that led me to a place where I had to start really paying attention to how I find meaning and how that sort of develops into real interest and real passion.
That's a number 1.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's
Top
got ripply top?
Top grade.
Really?
Smell it.
Oh my God. I mean, I've been led down all of these different paths to try to get closer and closer to finding and living more meaningfully, I guess is the word.
Oh my God.
It's the new exciting start to the next phase in life.
It's about what happens to our relationships with other people, with our communities, with the planet as we begin to heal as people. And you can see in the clinical trials that loved ones that surround the people who go through these experiences report that their relationships with those people improve. Psilocybin-containing mushrooms, as well as really an infinite number of other plant medicines, have been used for thousands of years, since time immemorial, by indigenous communities all around the world. Psilocybin was already showing a lot of promise for treating alcohol use disorder, nicotine dependency, end-of-life distress, anxiety, depression, and a lot of other conditions prior to Richard Nixon signing the Controlled Substances Act. The thing that comes to mind to me is their potential to disrupt our current mental health epidemics.
20 plus years ago, I got very badly injured, technically disabled. I had massive PTSD symptoms after that, an extreme introvert. And because of the pain, I had to get on pain management programs, which entailed heavy opiate use, which they told me in the beginning would be like 6 months and I'd get off of it, but it just turned into like a 20-year opiate addiction. It hurt my life in so many ways. In the back of the High Times magazines, there was these grow kits from Homestead. But, I gotta try this again. It's been so long. It completely changed my life. It just took all my fears, phobias, introvertedness, and it just allowed me to kind of digest everything that had been happening to me and everything that I had basically been hurting myself with. It basically allowed me to take a step back from myself and kind of examine myself and my situation and be like, what am I doing? It's been so long. I could try harder than this. And and plus other things the way I treated my friends and family. And it made me realize a lot of things, and it was very profound. And after that, I had to grow it myself. I wanted to develop my own relationship with the fungi.
Doma pioneered the antibiotic fusion technique that changed the cubensis grow game. His hybrid strain, Tidal Wave 2, won the first psilocybin cup and led to other cultivars producing award-winning strains like Enigma. This fusion technique significantly increases the amount of active alkaloids and is setting a new standard for potency.
Mushrooms can vary greatly in potency from very, very low to very, very high. Of the same species, cubensis can be like 1 milligram per gram, or it could be 40 milligrams or 38 milligrams per gram was our highest test. That's 38 times difference. Now, you can't just go tell somebody, go take a gram of mushrooms, not knowing if it's 1 milligram of active alkaloids in a gram, or if it's 38 milligrams of active alkaloids in a gram. So for safety reasons, harm prevention, we put our face out there, we put our name out there, because we're doing this so that people know how to dose. Because I believe the medicine is going to be legalized. I think more people need to stand up like me and do this so that people can take notice and realize that we're not fooling around.
We like to say at Double Blind that psychedelics are not a panacea. They're not going to fix all of your problems overnight, and they're not for everybody. We encourage people to approach the medicine with reverence and with intention. And that's not to say that you can't do mushrooms at a festival or have sex on mushrooms or microdose or laugh your ass off with your friends. There's no demonization of joy or celebration or dance or revelry, because that can all be really healing and beautiful too.
Shelby's magazine Double Blind is another critical resource as psychedelics move more into the mainstream. Having accurate information is as important as accurate potency testing. We catch up with our pilgrims, struggling between making miles on their long drive and hunting mushrooms that are littering the roadside.
When I'm hunting or mushroom hunting or foraging, I feel like I'm in my element to some degree. I feel like I'm in a state of flow.
We're noticing in this totally abundant forest that mushroom hunting is so abundant and so easy that you don't actually have to look in the forest. People just leave them on the side of the road for you.
That's unheard of for an umbilicata. In my experience, this size. This is why you cut and don't pull. See all those little babies that now don't have a chance to form?
So you're a cutter, not a plucker?
No, I'm a plucker for sure, but that's what the answer would be when people are like, no, you have to cut all the babies. But
eat the babies.
Exactly. We made it. Azzie Quest Day 2. Long drive. That was the challenge coming here, is not stopping for all the mushrooms that we saw along the way. It took us a long time to get here. And we're going to head out into the night for our first official Azzie hunt with our, whatever these things are, flashlights. Hoping they fluoresce. Something really cool.
It's either trash or a mushroom. I think it's either a...
Get the real light on it. It's a tennis ball. It's a tennis ball.
As it turns out, Azzies do not fluoresce.
Yeah, that's cool. Oregon last year, 2020, I believe, decriminalized psilocybe mushrooms, so conditions are good.
There was a lot of talk about, how does this affect this kind of activity? It still felt, like we were doing something illegal, which maybe we were. I'm not even sure.
So I hide my identity because it's technically still illegal. I love what I do, but I'm not trying to go to jail.
Why are mushrooms still considered illegal in most of the U.S.? In the 1970s, Nixon's war on drugs set the stage. But this was actually just a front for associating African Americans with heroin and hippies with cannabis, so he could further disrupt those communities. In the U.S., federally, this medicine is still considered a Schedule I narcotic, the same category as heroin and cocaine.
They have to deschedule, forget decrim, they have to deschedule.
Schedule I means it is highly addictive and has no medicinal purpose, both of which is patently untrue when it comes to psilocybin and psilocin. Decriminalization of psilocybin in the United States began with Denver, becoming the first city in May 2019. As of the making of this film in 2022, the cities of Oakland, Santa Cruz, Washington, D.C., Ann Arbor, Chicago, Detroit, Somerville, Cambridge, Northampton, Seattle, and San Francisco have all followed suit. Oregon, Connecticut, Maine, New Jersey, and Texas have all decriminalized psychedelics in some form. In November of 2022, the state of Colorado votes on Prop 122 that proposes to decriminalize magic mushrooms, DMT, mescaline, and ibogaine, and then make those compounds only available in treatment centers under supervision.
There's no indication that activists are going to stop pushing for decriminalization, and there's no indication either that millions of dollars are going to stop being poured into drug development to try to get psychedelics through the FDA approval process. Like, both of these things are already happening and are going to continue to happen. And so the question is, like, how do we structure it in such a way that the most number of people who want access to psychedelics can get them?
This genus of mushroom has literally captured our imagination, and once something grabs our psyche, it is remiss to let go.
They are connecting people with something that's greater than themselves and inspiring what is sometimes referred to in the context of clinical trials as a mystical experience.
Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. After 2 days' travel, we arrive at the hunting grounds, full of anticipation, but not sure what to expect.
So here we are, it's like 9:15, the first real day of Azzie hunting. We're probably 4 minutes in, maybe. And then right here, right at the side of this little deer trail, we got it. Beautiful cluster. We pick these things gently. I think. So I don't know what these are, but I don't think these are actually Azzies. As time goes on, it's going to become more and more popular for people to come and collect them. That collection is going to be concentrated into this very small geographic area, and that, of course, is going to have an impact. We don't want that many people doing this in one tiny area, the one tiny area you can go to where perhaps it is, has been decriminalized.
But so ethically, I suppose one should probably try not to spread unwelcome species as much as possible.
The get together we did with Wood Lovers United, my mushroom group, is basically we get as much spawn as we can, and we take it to places where we think the spawn will thrive. They have similar materials like grass and some scotch broom and stuff. We take it there, we plant it, and we hope that it thrives. We'll be coming back in probably a year, maybe 2, to check on it, see what's happening. I believe we inoculated the area with a little over 50 gallons of spawn, I would say. The idea behind it is to help spread spawn for a psilocybe species, Psilocybe Azurescens, and try to basically revitalize them.
The more this can be propagated into the world, increase the geographic area where these can be found, I think the better.
I would presume it's a primary decomposer, as many fungi are. In other words, it takes biological material, in this case, the rotting straw or stems left from the beach grass, and decomposes it.
Once the grasses start to decompose and compost, they hold moisture differently, and new plants that couldn't grow in an area where the sand was actively accumulating around the beach grasses now can, because there's a moist compost bed. And in some places, it takes about 40 years. The compost will turn into topsoil, black topsoil. So there's an evolution of the soils that takes place through time.
So the fungi break it down, and then bacteria break down the fungi, and that's kind of how things cycle through the environment. If it wasn't for the fungi, we'd be up to our butts in you-know-what.
Nobody's entirely sure where these things originated anyway. Moving species around can have unintended consequences. We, as humans, we do that all the time, right? Either inadvertently or purposefully, and we tend to choose the ones that we feel will benefit us individually or as a species or a society, what have you, as the ones that we tend to propagate and spread around. I think this fits in that category.
It's a toss-up where you want to draw the line when it comes to classically calling it ethics. Spreading the fungus into unwelcome invasive species makes kind of some sense, as long as there isn't some negative, unexpected consequence of it. It sounds like an act of genius.
Well, and the dunes that we took them out of are actually full of invasive species already.
Very true.
And between us, we can think of a bunch of other Eastern Pacific dune grass ecosystems with all of the same conditions, but they don't have the psilocybe azurescens in them. So they may support them just fine.
Usually they grow in certain areas for a reason because of everything else that's around.
Due to the tiny geographic area where this species is found, the human foraging impact of harvesting and general use is highly concentrated. The Woodlovers United group is trying to relieve some of that pressure by spreading the species into similar habitats. The systemic propagation of this fungi has the potential to mitigate the beach grass and build topsoil for other flora and fauna to even have a chance.
Yeah, this definitely feels... Yeah, that looks more like it. It has the little veil there. We'll see if it starts bruising blue. Definitely the stipe feels more like it. This is epic. This is like a freaking, like, the accomplishment of the quest. We found the promised land. And it's right there. Nope. They scare me. These four here, the stem is much more frangible, breakable. It's thicker. It's not as white. It has those brown and white, the brown striations coming through the stipe, the white color of the stipe. You know, kind of looks like bruising, but it's not really. But then, if you compare it to these ones, lighter, more caramel colored cap, the rounder shape of the cap, the stem is thinner and much tougher, so it's almost woody, really tough stem. And these ones I expect will start to show blue. You can see a little bit of bruising there already. These ones will not. These were growing side by side, very much lookalikes.
I like that bluesing.
The bluesing. It's all about the blues.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Beautiful.
There's a lot of effort just paid off in satisfaction. Like, I honestly really don't care at all about the mushrooms, but it's really rad to find them when you've been trying. So, yeah, I'm stoked. I'm super stoked.
Look at that. Oh, I love it.
And what I've been reflecting on is, you know, how my activities and actions and thinking generate motivation, lead to enough motivation to take action and do something in hopes of finding like a motivational feedback loop that creates real passion and interest in something. And, you know, I'm in a part of my life where I'm sort of letting go of a lot of previous activities, careers, motivations, and trying to find this, I don't know, a way to live as fully as possible in any given moment. And it's, I think it comes down to, you know, having an open mind and being present and putting effort into things so that you can have the full range of, you know, appreciation and satisfaction and, what's the word?
Meaning?
Meaning, looking for meaning, the quest for meaning and passion. Yeah. I guess it just feels good to actually do something you put a lot of, or find something, or finish something, or complete something that you put a lot of effort into. And when the sun comes out, on a dark November day. It's really beautiful, and it seems like it's a worthy endeavor.
Two things are for sure. More research is needed to understand these relationships, and the interest in this mushroom will not go away anytime soon. As this medicine is appropriated into our culture and society, perhaps it will open the door to more healing, more empirical data, and more understanding of its role in our lives, and the crucial role fungi play in the environment. Here is the stem butt from one fruit body. You can see it's got the mycelial threads there, and I pulled it off in order to place it and plant it in another zone just to spread the mycelium, because that's the sustainable ecological way. You gotta propagate as you harvest. And especially as this place blows up, I am a symptom of its spreading knowledge